systems go. Clear for liftoff.
What is going on, YouTube Nation? We're back on the SHIPIT Nation YouTube station here. If you guys are new, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. We're almost to 5,000 subscribers. We're going to give an annual package away to the nation over here for a lucky YouTube subscriber. We'll post the details on the Twitter page. If you are not following us, head over to Twitter, formerly known as Twitter, now known as X there, at SHIPIT Nation. You'll see all our details there. Also get notifications of all our shows, everything that we have, all of our content as well. So that's a great place to check us out. And if you are not a member, head over to shipitnation.com. Use that promo code TRY20. Get you $20 off your first month. It includes the annual membership, includes the 6-month membership. You get $20 off your first month. If you just do the monthly package, takes it down to $49 a month. Get you a taste behind the paywall of all of our premium content, tools, projections, everything you need to have success with DFS. Happy Sunday, man. How we doing? I'll bring you in right away. We got a nice main slate here, but obviously we're talking a nice game here tonight, 51.5 total. Dallas 3.5-point favorites here at home. Interesting spot here. I think there's definitely a good game for Showdown here. Obviously lots of money to be made there. Hopefully we're already crushing the main slate, and we're sitting pretty good rolling into Sunday night here into a free roll and hopefully shipping more money. But how we doing, man? Happy Sunday.
Yeah, no, happy Sunday. We get a marquee primetime matchup. You know, it should be a really good game. The first game that these two played was an epic finish, epic game. Got the highest total, I think, on the whole weekend, sitting at 51-52. Should be a lot of points. So looking forward to it. The Eagles going into the Big D. So let's dive right in.
Yeah, let's dive right in. Let's talk captain position here. Obviously, last time we saw these two teams play back in Week 9, right? It was a 28-23 victory here for the Eagles. Now this game's in Dallas here. You got CeeDee Lamb Chop all the way up at 16-8. Which is kind of interesting. They kind of grouped these top 4 studs all together within a couple, basically $1,500, right? And you can argue, I mean, we've seen Jalen Hurts, Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb, what they've been doing this year. I mean, we've seen guys like this at 17, 17.5, 18K, right, in the captain spot. Now they're 16-8, so you can kind of really have to make decisions here from the captain spot. Touch on those guys, and then you got Tony Pollard down at just 12K. DeAndre Swift, who's been amazing in this Philly offense here. Obviously, it's a tough matchup here against Dallas, but he's 11-1. And then you got Dallas G back. Dallas got it, right? We usually like tight ends quite a bit against Dallas here. He's just 8,100 at the captain spot. $2,100 cheaper than Mr. Jake Ferguson himself, who has been amazing this year. But touch about on the captain spot. Where are you going in this one?
Yeah, captain's pretty. I'm gonna play one of these big dogs. I know sometimes we like to get in like a cheaper guy to try to get more folks in there, but I just think for me personally, it's going to be focused at the top of the heap, top of the ladder. And for me, it's CeeDee Lamb. I mean, we've seen it all season long that this Eagles defense is just not very good. Their back end is very bad. Reed Blankenship and Kevin Byard, former Titans great, has lost a step. So their safeties are not good. And we saw Mike McCarthy utilize CeeDee Lamb very well the first time these two played, moved him all around, had him in the slot, going up against those guys. And he rewarded everybody with a 16 target, 191-yard performance. So I don't have any problem going back to CeeDee Lamb. Now we get him on the artificial turf. Dak is going to look at him because he's their number one target far and away. I think he had another 15, 16 targets last week. So CeeDee Lamb would be my favorite Cowboy. On the Eagles side, Jalen Hurts would be my favorite captain. And, on the shows, that Hoop and Title and Tambo do, they always talk about no one plays quarterback in the captain. I think Jalen Hurts, and I'm going to go ahead and lump Dak Prescott in there. I mean, not only do they have really good weapons on the outside and at the tight end position, they also utilize their legs inside the 5-yard line. We know the tush push, brotherly shove. Jalen Hurts is going to get in there. So really like Jalen Hurts, really like Dak Prescott. And then my last Eagle would be A.J. Brown. Don't mind him. I'm gonna just give you two of my contrarian, I guess, fades at the captain spot, and it would be those next two guys. Interested to hear what you take, but I'm gonna completely fade Devontae Smith and Tony Pollard in the captain position. Devontae Smith, you said it in the opening, has been really, really good. Now Dallas Goedert is back, and it may just be noise, but his numbers go down significantly when Dallas is in the lineup. Dallas Goedert, that is. So I'm going to fade Devontae in the captain. I'm going to fade this number one ranked. I don't know if they're number one ranked. They're top ranked rush defense of the Eagles. And Mike McCarthy knows, Dak knows, you're going to have to pass to beat this team. So I'm going to fade Tony Pollard in the captain as well.
Yeah, no, excellent breakdowns here. Yeah, the Eagles are number one in the league in terms of run defense, last in the league against quarterbacks, last in the league against wide receivers. So you got two of the best here. Obviously, Dak Prescott, I don't want to say best, right? I don't want people to think I think Dak Prescott's the best quarterback in the league. But, I mean, what he's been doing, man, he's been crushing, right? I mean, ever since Hoop kind of shit on this guy, he said, kind of watch me, right? 32, 31, 41. Had a down game right there against Carolina where they were kind of just beat the brakes off of them. But then obviously lit up Washington and lit up Seattle, right? Now comes back here, gets a great matchup against the Eagles here. I'm with you. I'm totally I'm full faded in Pollard in the captain spot. I actually like going below that. So for me in the captain spot, it's CeeDee Lamb, it's A.J. Brown. And then my next two favorite are Jake Ferguson, Dallas Goedert, just because what they do for your lineup construction, 10-5 and 10-2, I think is 10-2, excuse me, and 8-1. I was looking at Brandon Cooks there. Don't really have a ton of interest in him. But Jake Ferguson, I mean, if you look at what Jake Ferguson did last time against this team, right, this Dallas offense loves Jake Ferguson here. He was obviously a stud in college here. Jake Ferguson went 10 for 91, right? 10 targets. He had 91 yards, 7 catches, and a touchdown last time against this Eagles squad here. I like him quite a bit, man. 10-2, it allows you to do a lot of things with your lineup. So I really like Jake Ferguson up there. And then Dallas Goedert, right? Dallas Goedert, you got to think, right? Eagles coming off that loss there. Dallas Goedert didn't have the best game against Dallas last time, but he still caught three balls for 50 yards here. I think they get him involved after sitting out the last 3 games, right, against Kansas City, Buffalo, and San Fran. After the beating against San Fran, I mean, they got to lean on Dallas Goedert, who's pivotal part in this offense, in my opinion, here. So I do like him. The price point is nice. Obviously, you want to play these studs at the top, right? A.J. Brown, Dak Prescott, Hurts, CeeDee Lamb, for a good reason. How can you do that? You can play one of these cheaper captains. That's still a good play, like a Dallas Goedert, like a Jake Ferguson. So I do like those two guys quite a bit. I'm off Tony Pollard in the captain spot. I'm a little bit underweight in terms of the QB captains myself. As well, but obviously Jalen Hurts, it's hard to ignore there. I think I prefer Jalen Hurts just a little bit more to Dak Prescott because I think if we see an explosion game out of CeeDee Lamb, right, he's going to outscore Dak Prescott. So I'd rather just pay him for $700 more than or $900 more than Dak Prescott. What's your take on that? With the Dak versus Jalen in the captain spot, because I mean, it's a $600 difference between those two. So realistically, I mean, it's not much of a difference.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely get your point. I mean, obviously, Dak is going to get there a little bit too if CD gets there. My thing with Dak though is he's been running it a lot more right around the 10 and in. So I like them both, right? I think, and I know we talked a little bit, I think the Cowboys, I wouldn't say throttle the Eagles, but I think they win, handily. But like we saw last week with the 49ers, I mean, the Eagles are obviously a really good team. They're going to keep Dak in there. Dak's going to be throwing in the fourth quarter where a lot of these games he's not. So I don't mind either one in there. And then I guess my sneaky captain would be DeAndre Swift. I mean, he was an afterthought last week against the Niners. They just abandoned the run so super early. I think they may, look themselves in the mirrors. They got a really good offensive line, and may want to keep Dak and them off the field. So hey, why not run DeAndre up the middle 20 times? And he's a very capable back, and he can catch a lot of passes too. That would be my sneaky one. And I know you got a soft spot for Dallas Goedert in your heart, in the captain, in the showdown. So you're always going to say that. And hey, he wasn't going to score, but he was running towards the end zone when he got hurt and broken arm. That was a gruesome injury. So yeah, I mean, hey, he's rested. We do know that. He's fully healthy. They held him out an extra week, I think. So I don't mind that one.
Yeah, this just reminds me of the George Kittle spot that I talked about against these Dallas Cowboys, right? I mean, Dallas is great against every position. The position that they do struggle with a little bit is tight ends. I look at Dallas Goedert in this offense much like I look George Kittle in the San Fran offense when George Kittle went out there and dusted the slate. And I picked up all the shit in the comment section on this video. I like the same spot. And not only that, I like the price point, right? If Dallas Goedert hasn't been hurt and missed all that time, I mean, this guy would be up in the 7Ks. He's 5,400 in the flex, 8,100 in the captain spot. When you have four studs that you want to play for, CeeDee Lamb, Jalen Hurts, Dak Prescott, A.J. Brown, for a good reason. It's a 51.5 total. We expect points on both sides. So that's the reason Dallas Goedert for that. So
would you play Goddard without Hurts in the flex, or are you going to play him?
I don't think I don't think I'm going to fade Hurts in the flex, to be honest. He just does too much in this game, right? Eagles just got obviously embarrassed, right? They're going to want to come out here and make a statement, right? I mean, getting smashed 42-19 in a primetime game in the afternoon time window last week. I mean, Jalen Hurts has got to take that personally. So I don't think I can be underweight or fade Jalen Hurts, but I think you could do it. I'd much prefer Dallas Goedert. The reason you're playing Dallas Goedert in the captain spot to contest with some of these Lambs, the Hurts, the Daks, the A.J. Browns of the world is so you can afford them, the guys in the flex. So I think that's the reason for it. So I think you could do it. It's a one-game sample, obviously. But the reason I like going that is to be able to afford these other guys, right, in the flex spot. So that's kind of the reason behind that. I think we broke down the captain spot pretty good, Ham. Let's jump into to some of these flex positions here. Obviously, got to talk about the kickers here. Brandon Aubrey, Mike McCarthy's a freaking donkey. He'll kick a field goal from the freaking 4th and 1 from the 5-yard line, it feels like, here. So Brandon Aubrey, Jake Elliott, two of the best kickers in the league this year. 5K and 4,800. So they priced them right together. And then you got the defenses, right? Cowboys defense, Eagles defense, both can score 4K and 3,600. So $1,000 cheaper than these kickers. Touch on that. You got Kenneth Gainwell sandwiched in between there. So hit on the kind of that kicker and that defense range, because obviously that's a huge talking point always. And then some other values I want to throw out on the slate. Obviously Dallas Goedert's price, Tony Pollard's price overall for being a favorite here at home. In the flex spot, I don't like him in the captain, but 8K for him at the flex. I mean, Dallas is a favorite here. Touch on that. And then any of these punt guys like Jalen Tolbert, the Luke Schoonmakers of the world, Rico Dowdle, Michael Gallup, any of those guys down there, where are you going flex position?
Yeah, let's touch on those defenses first, because I noticed that, yeah, like you said, they're 1,000 less than the kickers, and they're obviously priced down there, just based on the matchup. But we've seen it time and time again, and I always go back to the Super Bowl when, the Chiefs let up, I think, 30-some-odd points, but they were still in the optimal because they got that scoop and score, had a bunch of sacks. So you can give up a bunch of points, and we've seen, obviously, what Dallas's defense can do in terms of returning, picks and whatnot to the house. So I don't mind Dallas's defense in the flex. I definitely wouldn't captain either one or a kicker in this game, but I definitely like Dallas's defense. I think they have a little bit more upside, but that's not to say that the Eagles couldn't do it, right? You're just a fluke play away, a sack, strip sack. You never know how that's going to play. And that front four of the Eagles is also very good with Sweat, with the Georgia boys up there, with Brandon Graham, folks like that, Fletcher Cox. So I don't mind either one of the defenses. I would side with them a little bit more in this game than the kickers, just simply based on price, because I do think we are going to need to find that savings somewhere. I mean, obviously you can play Aubrey, who I think has missed one, maybe two kicks all season long. And then Jake Elliott, my thing with Jake Elliott, I'll say it time and time again, is that they're the complete opposite. They'll go for it on 4th and 3 on their own 30. I mean, obviously, you're not going to kick a field goal from there, but they'll go for it all over the field. And I think they have a less likely chance of kicking a field goal. They'll kick it at the end of the half, or if it's 4th and long or something like that. But I'm going to stay away from Jake Elliott, I believe. And then, you touched on the two that I would have a little bit of interest in down there. Jalen Tolbert, playing about the same amount of snaps as Michael Gallup. You want to talk about dust, you can start and end at Michael Gallup. So give me some Jalen Tolbert at 2,800, who, playing roughly 40% of the snaps. And then Luke Schoonmaker, just as a contrarian, get in the box type of, play off of Jake Ferguson. I think Jake Ferguson's a great play, but you're starting seeing Schoonmaker play a little bit more. So those would be kind of the two that I have a little bit of interest in down there.
Yeah, no, excellent point. What did you touch on Turpin at all? 1,600 there. Turpin, about 20 to 25% of Prescott's dropbacks. He's usually involved there in those. Doesn't get a ton of time, but when he's in there, I mean, he's getting some looks his way. He's just 1,600. Obviously, we've got a lot of studs to pay for. What's your take on Turpin there?
Yeah, I didn't mention Turpin. I'm not going there. I mean, you're hoping to catch lightning in a bottle with a punt return or a kick return. I mean, obviously that would be good, good for you. But I think his like a ceiling game for him is like 3 catches, and he's got to convert those. I'd rather take my chances with Tolbert. Pay a little bit more than Turpin. So no, thank you for me.
Yeah, I mean, I think the kind of way I'm looking at this is I'm trying to avoid all these cheapies, right? I'm trying to avoid all these punts, lightning in a bottle guys. I mean, if you really look below the Eagles defense, I mean, Gallup would be probably my favorite guy, but I mean, Rico Dowdle, maybe, not really. Tolbert and Turpin, yeah, flip a coin between one of those. You got Quez Watkins, Boston Scott, Zacchaeus, Julio, Dust Jones there, Jack Stoll, Hendershot. I mean, these guys are pretty gross down here, right? Especially with when you got both these teams are so top heavy, right? CeeDee Lamb, Tony Pollard, Cooks, Ferguson, and Cooks isn't even super heavily involved, but Cooks, Ferguson, I mean, you can basically stop there from the Dallas side. And then on the flip side, you got AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, Swift, and Goddard, right? I mean, now you got Goddard coming back into the offense. I mean, I don't think you really need to drop down below. At least I'm not trying to drop down below Michael Gallup too much where it needs. I do like the Eagles defense at 3,600. Thing about this Dallas team is, right, they haven't relied on Tony Pollard a ton this season. Dax like to drops back. They're throwing the ball a ton. That leads to more opportunities for sacks, more opportunities for a strip sack, a fumble, a jump a route, pick six. And at 3,600, I mean, they could pay off that price point pretty easy when the value beneath them is all pretty gross. You know what I'm saying? So I do like the Eagles at 3,600. Cowboys, you have to have interest. I think an interesting little correlation would be like a Cowboys and a Turpin correlation, Cowboys defense Turpin correlation, just because obviously if he does take a punt return or a kick return to the house, you get those points there for both. Kind of double dip there, but Turpin also gets obviously targets on the offensive end. Looking at it, he's been pretty involved, right? 4 DraftKings points a couple weeks ago against Carolina, where he saw 3 targets, saw a target and a touchdown against Washington, and then he saw 3 targets last week. So, I mean, he's looking at 7 targets over the last 3 weeks. It's just isn't terrible for 1,600 when you got a lot of studs to pay for. What's your take on that in terms of roster construction, trying to avoid this punt range where I think a lot of people try and mix these guys in, right? Especially in MME formats. Obviously, it's different there, but 3 to 5 teams, main teams like that, I think I'm going to try and avoid this whole bottom tier range and just go with more maybe like a Goddard captain or a Ferguson captain, or maybe a Brandon Cooks captain or something, just to avoid that range and kind of round my team out with a kicker or a defense. What's your take on that?
Yeah, I think that's the thing is that, for me, I do want a CD, a Dak, or a Jalen as my captain. And if you do that, you just have no other avenue just to get somebody like that, like a Quez Watkins, who I don't think we touched on, like a Jalen Tolbert. So, I mean, a majority of my teams will be the studs and the captain, with some of these lower tier guys that we're going to have to catch that lightning in a bottle, so to speak. So, the Quez Watkins, the Zacchaeus, the Julio Jones, who I'm not playing, but somebody like that. But if you do go Goddard, you can have more of a balanced build that you talk about where you can get a couple defenses, a kicker, somebody like a Tolbert or a Gallup. I mean, surely to goodness, a Gallup will catch into the pass this season. I think the last 2 or 3 games, I don't think he has but 1 or 2 catches. So, can he catch that? Yeah, we've seen it in the past, but Dak just doesn't look for him. So it's just a matter of who do you want in the captain is going to be where, what range you have to go in.
Yeah, I'm just looking at these teams, man, in the optimizer, and teams just look so much better when you go with like a Goddard, Ferguson, or Brandon Cooks captain, like in that range, even a DeAndre Swift. Because if you don't, I mean, it's throwing in all these other guys, right? These punk guys like a Jack, like $200 guys, Peyton Hendershot, a Jack Stoll, a Julio Jones, a Zacchaeus, a Luke Schoonmaker. And man, I find it hard to rely on that. Obviously it could happen, right? 51.5 total here. But these offenses are pretty condensed here. Like even when you go like a Tony Pollard captain, which obviously you and I don't like Tony Pollard captain, the optimizer is still having you punt with one of these guys down. And I think the reason that is, which is because in the flex, you got AJ Brown, you got Dak, you got Hurts, and you got CeeDee Lamb, all priced within $1,000 of each other, 10-2 to 11-2. And obviously their projections are massive for a good reason, right? That offense runs through all 4 of those guys. I think you want to get 2 to 3 of those guys at least in your lineups, right? And to do that, you have to punt. So I think just flipping the build a little bit is definitely an interesting route on this slate. What's your take on that, and any final additional thoughts?
Yeah, no, I think it's good. And I was kind of building some teams too as you were talking. Yeah, it's tough to get a comfortable team once you start to get those big boys in the captain. So I'm starting to side with you is that, yeah, it's going to be a Dallas Goddard, type range captain kind of night. So that's something to keep an eye on because I'm with you. I don't really love those guys down there, right? In the sub 2K range. So it's going to be maybe more of a Dallas Goddard Swift than a Ferguson type captain night.
Yeah, I just think it's just because everyone wants to force those other guys, right? Anytime Jalen Hurts is on the slate, people want to force him in there for a good reason, right? The whole tush push, rushing upside, how CeeDee Lamb and Dak have been playing. Now they're at home here in a spot where it's a 51.5 total. They're favored. They want to play these guys in the captain spot. I think everyone's roster is going to end up the same way, right? You're going to be off a 1v1 freaking turd ball, dust ball down here at the bottom and hope to get the right guy right? Obviously in MME, you can do that, but hand building 3 to 5 teams and then doing my 20 max stuff, I think I'm just going to take a different approach here and just go try and live in that more mid tier, right? The Brandon Cooks, the Fergusons, the Goddards, the DeAndre Swifts, right? All 4 of those guys, you can argue, right, that they've all had games where they would be there, right? They would be there, or they are all capable of posting games where they can be there at their price points to allow the rest of your roster to get there, right? So that's kind of the reason that's kind of the take and the approach that I'm going at. Any final additional closing thoughts before we get out of here, Hemwich?
Yeah, no, I think we did nailed it and yeah, talk through it. And yeah, I'm with you. I'm going Goddard. I think Goddard's kind of the lowest I would go, I think, just looking at it real quick. Mm-hmm. But Goddard's probably the lowest I would go. And then I just build a pretty good team with a bunch of guys that I feel comfortable with. So in showdowns, I mean, anything can happen, right? We know that. But I want to feel comfortable with the guys that I'm picking, the guys that are going to actually be playing that have a chance to get what it takes to win, and that's daily fantasy points.
Yeah, it's not about who you play. It's about how you play them, right? Obviously, you can go with those studs. Those studs are going to be high owned in the captain spot for a good reason, right? Good spot. But then you have to get the rest. You have to get the punt right, and you have to work with the rest of the other 110,000 other people in the same contest, right? That's all fighting for that top place. What is it? 300,000 tonight. You're all fighting for that same prize with the same type of roster construction. So just flipping the script is kind of what I'm looking at this slate with. Obviously, we expect points here. That leads to more guys producing, hopefully. The more points there. The balance build is kind of where I'm looking at. So I think we broke this down pretty good. As always, all of our final content, slate plan, core plays will be live for SHIPIT Nation subscribers. If you're not a member yet, head over to SHIPITNation.com. Click that promo code. Try 20, excuse me, gets you 20% or $20 off your first month payment, whether it's the 6-month, the annual, or the monthly package. Monthly package comes down to $49 a month for the first month if you do use that promo code. If you not, just hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. It helps us out a ton. We appreciate all your guys' support. But for Hamwich, I'm Nadesify. Good luck tonight in your contest. Hope to see those Ship It Nation logos at the top. Let's ship it.